Girl asks nurse to let her see her father one last time at the hospital. What seemed like just another touching request soon raises doubts and suspicious glances. Powerful names, untold stories, and a carefully buried past begin to emerge. But no one at the hospital imagined the impact that visit would cause. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you're watching from. Let's continue. I promise, this will be the best story you'll hear in your life. The activity at St. Luke's Hospital was intense that Monday morning. Hurried doctors, nurses with clipboards, and anxious family members crossed the corridors in all directions. Nobody noticed the small figure who passed through the automatic doors of the main reception. A girl of approximately 8 years old, with disheveled brown hair, wearing a faded shirt too large for her thin body and jeans with patches on the knees. In her arms, she tightly clutched a worn teddy bear with one button eye hanging by a thread. Sarah Mitchell, a social worker at the hospital for 5 years, was the first to notice the child's presence. Something in the way she moved, determined yet simultaneously invisible, caught her attention. The girl wasn't crying or asking for help. She was just walking decisively like someone who knows their destination. Sarah followed her discreetly through the corridors to the 6th floor, the intensive care unit. The girl stopped in front of ICU room 603, where a man of approximately 50 years was hospitalized after a severe stroke. According to newspapers, it was Edward Armstrong, an influential businessman in real estate, owner of Armstrong Enterprises, responsible for the largest commercial buildings in the capital. His photo frequently appeared in social columns alongside his elegant wife, Rebecca, at charity events and high society parties. "Can I help you, sweetheart?" Sarah approached with a soft voice, crouching down to the child's height. The girl wasn't startled. She turned slowly, revealing deep brown eyes that seemed to carry an age much greater than her own. "I need to see my father," she said simply, pointing to the door. Sarah frowned, confused. "Your father is in there? What's his name?" "Edward Armstrong," the girl answered without hesitation. "He said that if anything happened, I should look for him here." Sarah's heart raced. Edward Armstrong was a VIP patient, attended by the best medical team, with his wife practically living in the hospital since his admission. At no point had any staff member mentioned the existence of a daughter, especially one who appeared to live in such precarious conditions. "What's your name?" Sarah asked gently. "Lily," replied the girl, adjusting the teddy bear in her arms. "And this is Teddy. My father gave him to me." Sarah noticed marks on the girl's arms, old scars and bruises at different stages of healing. Her professional instincts immediately alerted her to signs of neglect, perhaps even abuse. "Lily, where is your mother?" The girl's face contracted slightly. "Mom is sick. She hasn't been able to get out of bed for 3 days. Our money ran out, and we don't have any more medicine. She sent me to find my father." The girl spoke with a displaced maturity, as if she were accustomed to solving problems that children shouldn't have to face. Sarah looked around, aware that she was facing a delicate situation. If what the girl was saying was true, there was a story buried beneath layers of social appearances. And if it was a lie, even so, a child in those conditions needed immediate help. "Do you know where you and your mother live? Can you tell me the address?" "We live in a boarding house room on Acacia Street, number 47. It's a place with a peeling blue door." Lily pressed the teddy bear against her chest. "We used to live in the big house with my father. We had a room in the attic. He would come see us when the lady wasn't around." "The lady?" Sarah asked, trying to keep her voice calm while her brain processed the implications. "His wife, the elegant lady from TV." Lily lowered her voice. "She found us one day. She yelled a lot, called my mother awful names, threw our things onto the street, said if we came back she'd call the police." Sarah took a deep breath. If the child was telling the truth, she was facing a classic case: powerful businessman, hidden mistress, illegitimate daughter. But something in the way Lily spoke, in the precision of details and the absence of drama in her narrative, touched Sarah deeply. It didn't seem like a made-up story. My father used to take me to draw in the back garden when she traveled, continued Lily, with a rare sparkle in her eyes. He taught me how to mix colors. He said that one day he'd take me to the amusement park when everything was calmer. Sarah made a decision that could cost her job. She took the girl's hand. Let's do this, Lily. First we'll take care of you, then we'll try to find your mother and understand this situation better. Are you hungry? The girl nodded timidly. Sarah took her to the hospital cafeteria, where she ordered a sandwich, juice, and dessert. While Lily ate with the slowness of someone who fears food might be taken away at any moment, Sarah made some calls. First to social services, requesting an urgent investigation at the address provided by the girl. Then to her friend Dr. Camilla Johnson in the pediatrics department, asking for a special favor. Half an hour later, Lily was undergoing preliminary examinations that confirmed mild malnutrition and revealed old, poorly healed injuries. Social. Worker Marcy, Sarah's colleague, called to confirm that she had found Hannah Sanders, Lily's mother, in a feverish state in a tiny room at the boarding house indicated. The woman was immediately transferred to the hospital. "Why did you believe me?" asked Lily, while they waited for the test results. Sarah smiled. "Because some stories carry the weight of truth, even when they seem impossible." The moment of calm was interrupted by a strident voice that echoed through the corridor. "What does this mean? Who authorized tests for this child using my husband's insurance plan?" Sarah turned to find Rebecca Armstrong, impeccably, dressed in a grey suit, high heels, and discreet but expensive jewelry. Next to her, a man in a suit carried a leather briefcase. "Mrs. Armstrong, can we talk privately?" Sarah tried, but the woman had already noticed Lily. Rebecca's eyes widened in recognition, then narrowed in calculated fury. "So you're back. I thought I had been clear with your mother about the consequences." She turned to the man beside her. "Dr. Mitchell, this is exactly the situation we anticipated. Attempted emotional extortion using a child." The lawyer stepped forward. "Mr. Armstrong and his wife don't have children. We have medical documentation proving Mrs. Armstrong's inability to bear children, and Mr. Armstrong has never acknowledged any other paternity." Sarah felt Lily squeeze her hand tightly. The girl wasn't crying, but her small body was trembling. Sarah realized she was facing something bigger than a simple social case. It was the beginning of a battle between truth and power, between a voiceless child and an empire built on appearances. And somehow she had chosen her side in that silent war. The lawyer continued, "We demand the immediate removal of this child from the hospital premises and the suspension of any improperly authorized medical procedures." That's when Lily, without letting go of Sarah's hand, stepped forward and spoke with surprising clarity. "My father has a birthmark on his back shaped like a half moon, just like mine." The girl pulled up her sleeve, revealing a small crescent-shaped mark on her right shoulder. "And he always whistles the same song when he draws. He says it was the song his grandmother used to sing." Rebecca's face paled. Those were intimate details, impossible for strangers to know. The silence that followed Lily's words was as dense as fog. Rebecca quickly regained her composure, but Sarah noticed that something had changed. Edward Armstrong's elegant wife adjusted her pearl necklace as if reorganizing her thoughts. "Many people know details about my husband. The press tends to be invasive." Rebecca forced a smile, but her eyes remained cold. "Dr. Mitchell, handle this situation. I'm late for the meeting with the doctors." As Rebecca walked away down the corridor, the lawyer pulled out a document from his briefcase. "Ms. Mitchell, I presume. This is a formal restraining request. The Armstrong family demands the immediate interruption of any procedures related to this child and her supposed mother." Sarah maintained the professional calm she had developed over years of working with families in crisis. "Dr. Mitchell, this is a minor in a vulnerable situation. Hospital protocol and legislation require that we provide care, regardless of family disputes. This is not a family dispute. It's an attempted fraud." The lawyer lowered his voice. "Do you know who Edward Armstrong is? The family's donations maintain 3 wings of this hospital. I suggest you think very carefully before creating problems." Before Sarah could respond, Dr. Camilla appeared in the hallway. "Sarah, we need to talk." Her tone was urgent. "Hannah Sanders just arrived. Advanced feverish state, signs of untreated pneumonia. She's asking for her daughter and gave me this." The doctor showed a yellowed envelope. "She said it's proof, in case something happened to her." The lawyer tried to intervene, but Dr. Camilla was emphatic. "With all due respect, sir, we're talking about urgent medical procedures. Legal questions can wait for the appropriate moment." Sarah took Lily to a break room where a kind nurse offered paper and colored pencils. While the girl drew, Sarah and Camilla examined the contents of the envelope. A handwritten letter dated 5 years ago on Armstrong Enterprises letterhead. "Hannah, please keep this letter as a guarantee of what I personally promise. I recognize Lily as my daughter and assume responsibility for her well-being and education. For reasons you understand, I need time to organize the situation with my family. When everything is calmer, I will give you and our daughter the place you deserve. Until then, I ask for discretion. The apartment at the indicated address is in your name. The monthly deposit will continue to be made to the account we opened. With affection, Edward Armstrong." Next to the letter was a photo showing Edward smiling with a baby in his arms. On the back, the date and inscription, "Lily, 1-year-old." "This changes everything," murmured Sarah. "And complicates everything," Camilla responded. "Rebecca Armstrong is known for her influence. If this becomes public—" A noise at the door interrupted the conversation. Fiona, the receptionist, entered anxiously. "Sarah, the director wants to see you immediately. Rebecca Armstrong is in his office." Sarah took a deep breath. "Stay with Lily," she asked Camilla. "Don't let anyone take her." On the way to the director's office, Sarah noticed unusual movement. Staff were whispering, glances following her. Upon entering Dr. Richard Foster's office, the hospital's general director, the atmosphere was glacial. "Sarah, I'm extremely disappointed," began the director, a generally affable man who now could barely hide his irritation. "Mrs. Armstrong informed me that you authorized procedures for a minor without documentation, falsely claiming kinship with Mr. Armstrong. Dr. Richard, I have evidence suggesting—" "What you have," interrupted Rebecca, "is an obsession with creating problems. This isn't the first time an opportunist has tried to approach my husband using a child. We've already dealt with 3 similar cases." Sarah maintained her composure. "Mrs. Armstrong, I understand your position, but I have a letter signed by your husband acknowledging paternity of Lily." Rebecca's face hardened. "Forgeries. Edward would never betray our family." The director sighed. "Sarah, I'm temporarily suspending your duties until an internal investigation is completed. Please surrender your badge." As Sarah processed the blow, the door opened without warning. It was Marilyn Lopez, the ICU head nurse, a 50-year-old woman known for her discretion and competence. "Dr. Richard, excuse the intrusion, but I need to report something relevant." Marilyn hesitated, briefly looking at Rebecca. "Patient Edward Armstrong showed alterations in his vital signs about 15 minutes ago. An unusual reaction. It coincided exactly with the moment he heard a child's voice in the hallway." Rebecca stood up, indignant. "What are you insinuating?" "I'm not insinuating anything, ma'am. Just reporting a medical fact. As head nurse, it's my duty to record any significant reaction." Marilyn kept her voice professional. "I should also mention that I recognized the child." A heavy silence took over the room. "What do you mean, recognized?" asked the director. "I worked as a private nurse for the Armstrong family for 6 months, approximately 7 years ago. I saw Mr. Armstrong visiting an apartment in the South District several times. He didn't know I had recognized him." Marilyn adjusted her glasses. "Once, I saw him leaving the building with a pregnant woman. He was helping her get into the car, very caringly." Rebecca turned pale. "This is absurd. You'll be sued for defamation." Marilyn remained unshaken. "I have great respect for you and the Armstrong family. I never mentioned this to anyone until today, but I cannot allow an innocent child and a dedicated professional like Sarah to be harmed by something I know to be true. The director seemed lost. Marilyn, are you sure of what you're saying? This has serious implications. Absolutely, Doctor, and I'm not the only one. Mr. Carlos, who worked as the family's driver for 15 years, also knows. As does Mrs. Olivia, who was the housekeeper at the mansion. The mention of those names made Rebecca sit down again, visibly shaken. Sarah seized the moment. Dr. Richard, I'm not asking you to take sides, just to allow us to continue caring for the girl and her mother while the situation is clarified. Their health should be above any dispute. The director looked long at Rebecca, then at Marilyn, and finally at Sarah. I agree. The suspension is revoked, Sarah. Continue your work. He turned to Rebecca. Ma'am, I suggest you consult your lawyer about how to proceed. The hospital will maintain discretion, but we cannot deny treatment. Rebecca rose with the dignity of a dethroned queen. You have no idea of the mistake you're making. My family built this hospital. I can destroy it with one phone call. After her departure, the director let out a tired sigh. Sarah, whatever you've discovered, handle it with extreme care. We're walking on a minefield. Back at the pediatric department, Sarah found Lily still drawing. The drawing showed 3 figures, a woman, a man, and a small girl, all holding hands in front of what appeared to be a Ferris wheel. It's the park my father promised to take us to, explained Lily, without raising her eyes from the paper. He said that one day we would be a real family. Sarah felt a lump in her throat. Lily, do you want to see your mother now? The girl nodded, carefully putting the drawing in her pocket. On the way to the room where Hannah was hospitalized, they passed ICU 603. Lily stopped, looking fixedly at the closed door. Will he get better? She asked in a low voice. Sarah hesitated, uncertain about how to answer such a complex question. Edward's condition was stable, but serious. The doctors were cautious in their prognoses. The doctors are doing their best to help him, she finally answered. Lily nodded with an adult seriousness. He always said he would fix everything, that he just needed courage. In room 412, Hannah Sanders was connected to monitors and receiving intravenous medication. Her thin, pale face lit up when she saw her daughter. Lily ran to hug her, careful not to displace any of the tubes. Mom, I found Dad, said Lily. But he's sleeping in a machine. Hannah caressed her daughter's hair with trembling hands. You were very brave, my love. Her eyes met Sarah's. Thank you for taking care of her. Mrs. Sanders, we found the letter, Sarah said softly. We're doing everything possible to protect you both. Hannah closed her eyes for a moment. I never wanted to cause problems. Edward promised we would resolve everything legally. Then Rebecca discovered us. It was terrible. A tear ran down her face. She threatened us, said she had enough power to make Lily disappear if I insisted. I was so afraid. Sarah held her hand. Now you're both safe. We'll help you. What none of them knew was that in the hallway, a newly hired nurse, secretly loyal to Rebecca, was photographing the scene. With her cell phone, the image, a girl hugging her sick mother with a worn teddy bear beside them, would be the spark for a storm that no one could control. The photograph spread like wildfire, first in hospital staff groups, then on local social media, until it reached national headlines. Girl prevented from seeing hospitalized father. The silent drama of a denied family, said one of the titles. The image of Lily hugging her sick mother with her worn teddy bear sparked a wave of public emotion that not even the Armstrong empire could contain. Rebecca tried to control the damage. She hired a public relations team, issued official notes, denying any relationship between the girl and her husband, and insinuated that it was a coordinated extortion attempt. The strategy worked for exactly 2 days, until a former gardener of the Armstrong mansion, Anthony Ferguson, gave an explosive interview to a respected newspaper. I saw Mr. Armstrong drawing with the girl several times in the back of the property. When Mrs. Rebecca traveled, affirmed Anthony, he called her my princess and always whistled the same lullaby. He seemed very happy in those moments, happier than I ever saw him in the main house. The statement was like a seismic shock. Other, former employees began to emerge. each with their own story. A former cook reported hearing children's cries coming from the attic. A former driver confirmed having taken Edward to an apartment in the South District numerous times, where he would spend hours before returning with children's drawings, discreetly, kept in his briefcase. At St. Luke's Hospital, the institutional chaos was evident. The Health for All Foundation, the main funder of the pediatric wing, issued a statement expressing deep concern with reports of discrimination against a vulnerable child and announced the temporary suspension of financial transfers until the poor situation was properly clarified. Dr. Richard called an emergency meeting with all department heads. Sarah was invited to present her complete report. "The evidence we have is consistent," she concluded after exposing all the facts. The letter signed by Mr. Armstrong, the identical birthmark, the testimonies of former employees, and the fact that the girl knows intimate details that only someone close could know. "We need an official position from the hospital," said Dr. Marcus, head of cardiology, visibly uncomfortable. "The press is giving us no respite." "Our position is clear," answered the director. "St. Luke's Hospital prioritizes the well-being of all patients, especially children in vulnerable situations. We are conducting the necessary medical procedures for mother and daughter while we await legal clarification of the situation." Meanwhile, in room 412, Hannah was receiving a visit from one of the country's most respected neurologists, Dr. Paul Martin. He had been called to evaluate the possibility of using emotional stimuli in Edward's treatment. Science has demonstrated that patients in a state similar to Mr. Armstrong's frequently respond to familiar voices and emotionally significant memories, explained the doctor. Would it be possible to record Lily's voice reading something, perhaps telling a story? We could use it as a neurological stimulus. Hannah nodded, looking at her daughter, who was quietly playing with her teddy bear. Lily has a notebook with stories her father told her. She memorizes them word for word. That same afternoon, with the director's authorization and under rigorous medical supervision, Lily's soft voice was recorded as she read, "Once upon a time, there was a prince who lived in a very large castle, but he felt very lonely. One day he found a fallen star in the forest. The star shined and had the perfect shape of a girl. The prince took the star home and hid it in a secret tower." The recording was played through headphones placed on Edward. The doctors carefully observed the monitors, waiting for any sign of brain response. In the first hours, nothing happened, but the next morning, the night nurse recorded a significant increase in brain activity during the playback of the story. "It's unusual but promising," commented Dr. Paul upon analyzing the graphs. "Let's continue." On the third day, during the playback of Lily's voice, one of Edward's fingers moved. It was an almost imperceptible movement, but enough for the doctors to intensify the treatment. On the fifth day, his eyes opened briefly. On the seventh, he squeezed the nurse's hand when she asked if he could hear the voice. Rebecca, who visited her husband daily, was not informed about the new treatment. The director had decided that, given the complexity of the legal and ethical situation, it was better to keep the procedure restricted to the medical team directly involved. Sarah knew it was a risky decision, but necessary to protect Lily. The legal situation became more complicated each day. Rebecca's lawyer presented a court order demanding a DNA test to prove or refute the alleged paternity. Hannah agreed immediately. "I never had doubts about who my daughter's father is," she said with dignity. While they awaited the results, Rebecca intensified her public campaign against Hannah. Strategically given interviews mentioned the woman's unstable past, insinuating psychiatric problems and obsessive behavior. Falsified medical documents began to circulate, suggesting Hannah had been hospitalized for delusions years ago. Sarah was in her office reviewing reports when she received an urgent call from the ICU. "He's awake," informed the nurse with a voice trembling with excitement, "and he's asking to see the girl." The world seemed to stop for a moment. Sarah ran through the corridors to Hannah's room, where Lily was quietly drawing. "Lily," she called, trying to control the emotion in her voice. "Your father has woken up. He wants to see you." The girl's eyes widened, a mixture of hope and fear. "Will he recognize me? It's been so long." Hannah held her daughter's hand. "Go, my love. Your father has always known who you are." The walk to ICU 603 was silent. Lily clutched the teddy bear against her chest, as if seeking courage from it. Before entering, she stopped and looked at Sarah. What if she's there? Sarah crouched down to the girl's level. "If she's there, remember, you have the right to be here. You are his daughter, Lily. No one can take that away from you." Upon entering the room, they found only a nurse monitoring vital signs. Edward Armstrong was reclined in the bed, still connected to various machines, but with open and alert eyes. When he saw Lily, something in his gaze changed. A silent tear ran down his face, aged by illness. "Princess," he whispered, with the hoarse voice of someone who had been silent for a long time. Lily took a hesitant step, then another until she was beside the bed. "Daddy," she said simply. Edward extended a trembling hand and touched his daughter's face with delicacy, as if fearing she might disappear. "You kept Teddy," he murmured, noticing the bear. "He slept with me every night," replied Lily. "Mom said he would protect me until you came back." Edward closed his eyes for a moment, visibly moved. When he opened them again, there was determination in his gaze. "Sarah," he called, recognizing the social worker, "I need a lawyer, now." In the following hours, an extraordinary transformation occurred in ICU 603. Dr. Henry Turner, Edward's personal lawyer for more than 20 years, arrived discreetly. For 2 hours, he and Edward conversed privately. When he left, the lawyer carried signed documents and wore a grave expression. "Mr. Armstrong wishes to make an official statement," announced Dr. Turner to the director and Sarah. "He recognizes Lily Armstrong Sanders as his legitimate daughter and is altering his will to include her as an heir on equal terms with any other legal heirs." The director turned pale. "Does Rebecca know this?" "She will be informed today," replied the lawyer dryly. "I must also communicate that Mr. Armstrong is requesting immediate judicial protection for Hannah Sanders and his daughter. He has evidence of threats and persecution orchestrated by Mrs. Rebecca Armstrong in recent years." The shock was general. Sarah asked, "What kind of evidence?" Dr. Turner hesitated. "Phone recordings, records of payments to people hired to intimidate, and a series of compromising emails. Mr. Armstrong kept everything saved as a guarantee. He knew that one day he would need to protect his other family." That night, the news of the official recognition exploded in the media. The image of Lily sitting beside her father's bed, both drawing together with colored pencils, was captured by a nurse and quickly became a symbol of a reconciliation that captured the public's heart. But the battle was far from over. Rebecca Armstrong called a press conference for the following morning. Her face, always perfect for the cameras, now showed lines of stress and contained fury. "My husband is clearly incapacitated to make legal decisions," she declared. "His medical condition has affected his judgment. We are filing a request to annul any documents signed during this period and requesting a complete psychiatric evaluation." Meanwhile, at the hospital, Sarah received an anonymous envelope. Inside, a USB drive with audio files. With trembling hands, she connected the device to the computer and pressed play. Rebecca Armstrong's voice echoed, clear and cold. "I don't care how you do it. I want that tramp and the bastard out of town by tomorrow. If they insist on staying, make it look like an accident. Edward needs to understand that you don't play with the Armstrong family." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Beside her, Dr. Richard listened with a horrified expression. "This is evidence of criminal conspiracy," completed Sarah. "We need to deliver this to the authorities immediately." The recordings were delivered to the federal police that same night. Agents specialized in financial crimes had already been secretly investigating the Armstrong empire for months, suspecting money laundering and tax evasion. The discovery of threats against Hannah and Lily only accelerated a process that was already underway. The next morning, while Rebecca was giving interviews attacking Hannah's credibility, federal agents discreetly entered the Armstrong mansion with a search and seizure warrant. Computers, documents, and electronic devices were confiscated. The news leaked to the press only 3 hours later, creating unprecedented media frenzy. Armstrong Empire under federal investigation. Threats against child said to have triggered operation, announced national news. At St. Luke's Hospital, Edward continued his recovery, now with Lily as a regular visitor. The girl read stories to her father, showed him her drawings, and gradually rebuilt the interrupted relationship. Hannah, still convalescing, was transferred to a room near Edward's, allowing the improvised family to spend time together. "Why did you never take us to live with you in the big house?" Lily asked one afternoon while they colored a drawing book together. Edward paused, seeking simple words to explain a complex situation. "Sometimes adults make mistakes out of fear," he finally answered. "I was afraid of losing things I thought were important. Money, respect, social position. It took me a long time to realize I was losing what really mattered. You and your mother." "Will the elegant lady go to jail?" Lily's innocent question hid the weight of years of threats and insecurity. "I don't know, Princess. But she won't hurt you anymore, I promise." The investigation advanced rapidly. Rebecca was indicted for threat, persecution, and attempted obstruction of justice. More seriously, investigators discovered a disturbing pattern that extended for generations in the Armstrong family. Children born outside of marriage systematically excluded, mothers threatened or bribed, inheritances manipulated through falsified documents. "It's not just Lily's case," explained Detective Rachel Mendez in a press conference. "We found evidence of at least 7 similar cases in the last 3 generations of the Armstrong family. An organized system of exclusion of legitimate heirs." Edward watched the interview from his hospital bed, his face marked by shame and regret. "I knew about some cases, but not the extent," he confessed to Sarah. "My own father did the same. It was like an unspoken tradition. Keep the official lineage clean, hide the accidents. I promised myself I would be different, but when the time came to confront Rebecca and her family..." "You chose the easier path," completed Sarah. "Yes, and I almost lost my daughter because of it." Edward looked out the window, where the afternoon sun created golden patterns on the floor. "You know what's ironic? I really loved Hannah. She wasn't a fling, an accident. She was the only woman I truly loved." 2 weeks after waking up, Edward was discharged. Instead of returning to the mansion, now partially sealed as evidence, he temporarily moved to an apartment adapted to his recovery needs. Hannah and Lily went with him, accompanied by a full-time nurse and under discreet police protection. Public opinion was firmly on the side of the new family. Lily's story touched a sensitive chord in society, generating debates about responsible parenthood, rights of children born outside of marriage, and the abuse of economic power to silence the most vulnerable. Rebecca, released after paying bail, attempted one last desperate move. In an exclusive interview with a widely circulated magazine, she presented herself as the victim of an unhappy marriage, claiming to be completely unaware of the threats against Hannah and Lily. "I always knew about Edward's infidelity, but accepted it as part of our social agreement," she declared, carefully rehearsed tears shining in her eyes. "If I had known about the existence of a child, I would never have allowed her to live in precarious conditions. My only sin was loving too much a man who never loved me back." The attempt to manipulate the narrative failed spectacularly when, the following day, an audio leaked on social media. It was Rebecca's unmistakable voice ordering a subordinate, "Hire the best actors to cry at my testimony. I want to appear destroyed, a betrayed wife who only just discovered about the child, and find some children's charity for me to visit this week. We need photos with needy children." The scandal was the last straw. The public relations firm terminated the contract, influential friends distanced themselves, and even her own family issued a statement disassociating themselves from her actions. 3 months after Edward's awakening, a federal judge issued the preliminary sentence. Rebecca was sentenced to 2 years of community service in a shelter for abandoned children. Edward was required to establish a compensatory fund for all families harmed by the scheme of exclusion of heirs over generations. Armstrong Enterprises underwent a complete restructuring, with a significant portion of shares reverted to social projects. Hannah, completely recovered, decided to resume the studies she had interrupted years before. With Edward's support, she enrolled in an education degree program, fulfilling an old dream of working in children's education. Lily, now officially Lily Armstrong Sanders, started the school year at a new school. In the first days, she faced curious looks and whispers. Her story had been widely publicized, but soon made friends attracted by her resilient personality and creativity in drawing. Sarah, who had accompanied the family's entire journey, received an unexpected invitation from Edward. "I can't go back to working at the hospital," she explained when he suggested financing her return. "Some experiences permanently change our trajectory." "What do you intend to do then?" Edward asked, genuinely interested. Sarah smiled. "Found a support center for children in situations similar to Lily's. Invisible children in the eyes of society, but who exist and deserve recognition." Edward nodded, understanding perfectly. The next day, he transferred a newly renovated commercial building to Sarah's name, with sufficient funds to keep the center operating for 10 years. "Call it whatever you want. Consider it a form of reparation for all the children my family ignored." The new Dawn Center was inaugurated 6 months later, with Hannah as educational coordinator and Sarah as director. Specialized in psychological and legal support for children in complex family situations, it quickly became a national reference. Rebecca, serving her sentence at Hope Shelter, initially treated the children with distance and coldness. Accustomed to luxuries and privileges, she considered each day in that simple environment as an undeserved humiliation. Until she met Peter, a 7-year-old boy with distrustful eyes and a story painfully similar to Lily's. "My father is an important man," he told her during an activity. "He said he would come get me when he could. I'm still waiting." Something in those words pierced the armor Rebecca had built over decades. Perhaps the recognition of a pattern she had helped perpetuate, or simply the innocence of the child's weight. That night, for the first time, she cried genuine tears. On a sunny Sunday afternoon, Edward finally fulfilled the promise made years before. He took Lily and Hannah to the city's amusement park. Sarah was invited to accompany them, as was Dr. Paul, the neurologist, who had become a close friend of the family. While Lily ran excitedly from one ride to another, her teddy bear firmly secure in one hand, Edward observed with a serene smile. "You know what I learned from all this?" he commented to Sarah. "That families are not defined by roles or social conventions. They are built with love, truth, and the courage to do what's right, even when it's difficult." Sarah nodded, watching Lily get on the Ferris wheel with her mother. "Sometimes we need to lose almost everything to find what really matters." At the end of the day, as they returned home, Lily fell asleep in the car, exhausted but happy. Teddy rested in her lap, a silent witness to a journey that had begun with a lonely girl in a hospital corridor and culminated in the reconstruction of a family that almost never existed. Edward looked through the rearview mirror at his sleeping daughter. "I think I finally understood what my father never comprehended," he murmured. "There is no more valuable inheritance than the true love of a child." The following week, the DNA test officially confirmed what everyone already knew. Lily was, without any doubt, the biological daughter of Edward Armstrong. But for the girl, the official paper was just a formality. The real proof was in the carefully saved drawings, in the shared stories, and in the promise, finally fulfilled, of a day at the park. Dear listeners, we hope that the story of Lily, Edward, and Hannah has touched your hearts. To follow more moving narratives like this one, we've prepared a special playlist with equally captivating stories. Find it here, clicking on the left. If you enjoyed this journey of redemption and true love, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave your like on the video. Every day we bring unique stories that explore the complexity of life and human relationships. Share in the comments which